Serena breaking her racket.
Watch out. Lopez.
Oh, what's going on here? You cannot be serious.
Trying to stop Joker getting himself into further.
I've always wondered why professional athletes snap. Pro athletes are supposed to be people who have conditioned themselves to keep their cool during high pressure situations. But this doesn't seem to stop even the very best from doing this.
Now Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller having a go at it.
Sometimes during the biggest performance of their life. Why? Well, this video will explain why athletes lose their. First, let's talk about what's going on in our brains when we lose our head. So here's your brain. This part is the cerebral cortex, the thinking part. It's what lets you be logical and rational. Then this part is the limbic system, the emotion center. Within the limbic system, you have this little dude, the amygdala, which is responsible for our fight or flight response, our natural survival instincts. So when you're out in the world, you encounter different information, and this alerts the amygdala, and in a split second, a decision is made as to whether to send this information to the cortex area of the brain or the limbic system. And if that information triggers a strong emotional charge, then the amygdala will shift that information onto the limbic system and kickstart that fight-flight response. And the problem then lies in this causing an unavoidable hormone rush, a cocktail of substances that can leave us feeling primed and ready to engage in that fight. Now, this fight feeling could literally mean fueling a fit of rage in which you try hitting whoever has caused the emotional charge. But it can also lead to verbal assaults.
We don't really care about what that bug-eyed fat walrus has to say.
Or a bleak outcome for neighbouring inanimate objects. And you see in the world of professional sports, athletes are often already in an emotionally charged state even before something triggers them and sends them over the edge. The pressure to win, the crowd, and living up to the occasion after years of hard work leaves most feeling like a highly strung elastic band. And then it can take just one simple thing that seems maybe quite trivial to cause that band to snap. But how do we categorize these things? Because it's clear that not all athlete meltdowns are caused by the same event or trigger. But most do fall under two main brackets: personal frustrations and injustices. So personal frustrations are those times in which the athlete is clearly having a bad day. They've not taken their chances and can't get into a rhythm. Their anger closely resembles the toddler tantrum, hitting the ground, a little bit of screaming, but rarely a full meltdown. But injustices, well, these are what have caused most of, if not all, of the classic meltdowns that we flock to in our millions to watch again and again and again. And injustices themselves often range in how they can be categorized, but they usually fall into one of two camps. Firstly, perceived unfairness. A lot of the time, athletes lose it because they feel the game is against them. They believe they've stuck by the rules, and when those rules are either broken or not enforced correctly, then that's when all hell breaks loose. And we can all relate. We've all at some point felt a burning rage come across us during a family board game in which someone's committed an illegal play. But in those situations, we can quickly relax after it's pointed out and rectified. But in professional sports, athletes don't have that level of control, and not having any control often leads to a sense of hopelessness. There is literally nothing they can do to reverse a call or decision. And that is enough of a trigger to hijack their amygdala. So what do? Well, the only thing that allows that pent-up anger to dissipate: lose their. And the example that best springs to mind for me is the Champions League semi-final between Chelsea and Barcelona in 2009. The referee made, let's say, a bucket load of poor game-deciding decisions, one of which was the refusal to give a penalty for this handball. Now watch Michael Ballack. His amygdala is off on one. The unfairness is too much, and this is the only way that he can express how he feels. He's utterly hopeless. He can't blow the ref's whistle himself and give the penalty, and he can't give the ref the right hook that he clearly wants to. Anger in these moments is actually quite understandable. Feelings of hopelessness are ones none of us like to feel, and anger provides an escape from those feelings. It's an outlet that allows us to convert those feelings of hopelessness into a small sense of power and control. Albeit in a lot of cases this is just an illusion and actually has way too many long-term consequences. But the other type of injustice that causes anger among athletes, threats and insults, that's far less understandable. In most sports, there's going to be some trash talking, intimidation, and mind games. Athletes know that the world that they're in is one where most performers feel like that tightened elastic band, so some will do anything to get under the skin of their opponents. In most cases, athletes are able to let these slide and not affect them, but if it's a particularly bad day at the office, then that nonsense comment about their mum, their appearance, or their sporting ability, will send them over the edge. The famous Zidane headbutt falls into this category. It's bizarre. It's the World Cup final, his last ever game in football, but Marco Materazzi got under his skin with juvenile insults, and in a split second Zidane gave in to his triggered amygdala. He should have known better, and it makes you think, is anyone prone? Can athletes really keep it together when they start to see red? Well, to avoid getting angry in the first place, athletes would often have to give up the one thing that has got them to the position that they're in, their deep passion and care for their sport. The main reason that anger emerges in any of us is because we deeply care about something. And pretty much all elite athletes have made it because they care so much about their sport that they're willing to put themselves through immense physical and mental pain to reach the top. And that's why the typical comment of calm down, it's just a game, would in no way work on these athletes, because to them it is more than a game. It is their life. It's the thing that they've dedicated absolutely everything to. And in adopting this mindset, then athletes have to enter a headspace in which there will just be a risk of getting angry. But the best thing that athletes can do to avoid outbursts and meltdowns is suppression, which involves internalizing your anger in a way in which you can convert it into a fuel that can actually enhance your performance. You see, the angry athlete can easily become the aggressive athlete, the athlete who is more up for the task and challenge. And a great example of this suppression comes from this moment. Wayne Rooney is clearly fuming at the ref, but he takes the frustration out on the ball and the top corner. Suppressing anger, however, is not always the answer, because it can cause athletes to turn their anger inward on themselves and lead to lapses in concentration, drops in confidence, or just dangerous play. So there's no easy answer when it comes to athletes being able to manage their anger as effectively as possible. But in some situations, if we didn't see athletes getting angry, then I don't think we would see some of the performances that make sport truly worth watching.